Greetings, 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 fellow humans, people of Earth. I don't know what's happened to this shirt. Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, the 11th of February. This month is almost half over, 2026. It is about 6 a.m. here in southwestern Nevada, where we are about 60 miles west of Sin City, 60 miles east of Death Valley, 70 miles south of Area 51. Hard scrabble territory. A lot of rootin' tootin', pistol packing, sharp elbowed people who love it here. We are proud to live here in Pahrump. All right. So, today is Wednesday. Welcome to our students and other interested people. Our goal is to help you on your journey through this life, where we have a transcendent soul that moves us through. So what's going on in part of my brain and background is today is Wednesday. That means it's our volunteers breakfast at the Methodist Church at 8 o'clock. All are welcome. So it's the volunteers breakfast for people, homeless people, to have a breakfast. But it turns out there's not much point in them getting to breakfast at 8, because what do they do after that? Okay, so it's mainly pastors. Now, here we are, day 3 in week 3. Day 3, week 3, outside our skull-sized kingdom. And we are going to hear from Simon Sinek today on how do we tell a compelling story. But before that, let's look at our themo-memo of today is Crossing the Chasm. And that is part of Simon Sinek's talk, book by Jeffrey Moore, that was required reading in the late 90s, early 21st century. Right. Crossing the chasm. That's going from here to there, from where we are to someplace better. But the chasm is something that if we don't know how to do it, we're going to have some problems. Okay, today also trip to Las Vegas and meeting with our friend Lou Baker. Okay. Oh yeah, today is also core day number 1. Core day number 1, dinner, 5:30. Right, 1 hour. Should be interesting. Should be muy interessant. Okay, let's get into it. Advice from an 80-year-old. Once in a while, take the scenic route. So in law school, you learn to break these things down, figure them out. What does it mean? Once in a while, as opposed to what? All the time or never. Once in a while implies what? Rarely. Not often. Not always. Once in a while take the scenic route. Okay, Seth Godin. What does Seth Godin have to say? Time well spent. What an admirable goal, perhaps the overriding goal of all goals. How often do we measure this? Do we even know how? Do the systems we're in push us from considering this? I wonder why. Well, remember, our definition for success has to do with meaning and purpose, where meaning is act such that everything you do matters. So, if everything you do matters, most of your time should be well spent because it mattered. That's the capsule from my vitamin D tablet. This morning's vitamin D. Okay. Time well spent. Should we talk about the neuroscience-oriented approach to success? Should we talk about that? Okay. That's an interesting cup of coffee. Our goal is to help our students and interested people navigate through life, having the skills that you need to do. So, analogy would be climbing the mountain. Well, sheer willpower won't do it. Can't do it just based on, I'm going to get to the top if I have to claw my way up there. Bad strategy. One, you're doing it way harder than it needs to be. You need to have the right tools to do it. But not only do you have to have the right tools, you have to know how to use the tools. It's not just the tools, it's knowing how to use them. That's important. And when to use them. That's what we do here. We help you find the mountain you want to climb, figure out what are the tools you need. We help you learn how to use the tools, but you have to do the work. The overriding ultimate thing our belief that we have a soul that transcends death. That when we die, that is not the end. That's just the end of this life. And that we continue on the trajectory we were on. So whatever direction we were heading, we're going to keep going that direction. That is our belief. These are the notebooks for core. Right. Them is the notebooks for core. So I have a lot of work to do to prepare for that today. But we have a soul that transcends death. That Jesus tells us the best path to be on, transformation, and the trajectory to be on, where we should be, how we should be living today to better prepare for what happens next. That is our belief, and there's a lot of good evidence to support why we should believe that. And the biggest one is the resurrection. Okay. So if you believe in the resurrection, then you should believe what follows from it. What? If you believe in the resurrection, you should believe what follows from it. That was good coffee. How to live your life today for what happens next. because eternity is a long time. Our life is only 700,000 hours. And a third of those were asleep. So we have about 450,000 hours to make something happen. And it's disappearing by about 16 hours a day. So how do we get the most out of those 450,000 hours? We break it down to 4 areas. There's the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. The spiritual is the important thing because that sets our trajectory and frames our transformation. So that leaves physical, mental, and emotional, things that we can and should take care of. Physical, fitness, and health, what we ingest and what we do. It's important to take care of your body. It's the most important thing. Our physical body and our mind. Physically take care of our brain. Don't do things to damage the brain. Next is mental. Always be learning. A, always be, B, C, learning. Always be learning. Now, AI is the big thing. And what they say is AI isn't going to replace people. People who know how to use AI are going to replace people who don't. And there is going to be a multiplier effect. There could be one person that knows AI, maybe replaces 10 people that don't. Right, scary, spooky stuff. So, yeah, right you are. Next is the emotional. If you can't control your emotions, don't worry, somebody else will, and they'll probably take you out of the game. You have to control your emotions. Okay, so we're learning how to do that here. Then our course breaks down into 4 parts, the overview and orientation. So how do we maximize all these things? One is to know who I am and why I behave the way I do. Who I am in a real sense, in a nuts and bolts, what am I made of sense, not the product of who I am, meaning not my thoughts, but who am I physically? Am I 100 trillion cells or 1 trillion cells, however many cells in my body, none of which know who I am and none of which care who I am, yet they come together to make me. And then we focus on the neurons in our brain, certain cells in our brain that contain our lived past, anticipated future, ability to simulate, all of those things that are in our brain that if we damage our brain, go away. That's who I am. And then the next question, why do I behave the way I do? The idea being, if I can answer those 2 questions, if I know who I am physically on a neuroscience level, I understand how my brain works. And then why I behave the way I do, then I can proactively decide to dial in who I need to be right now and 5 minutes from now. And if I can do that, then I will more successfully navigate through life, presupposing there's things outside of my control don't get in the way. I'm just to have the average luck everyone else does. No better luck, no worse luck. Okay, great. So here, that's the overview. Who am I and why do I behave the way I do? Next week, week 2, how does my brain work? Week 3, which we're in now, how do I get other people to help me because I can't do it alone? And I start with the thing of, since I know how my brain works, I know how everyone else's brain works on a cellular neuroscience level. And what I want to do is bond with people who see the world the way I see it. And if I bond with them and I am persuasive, I have a compelling story of let's do this, then they will. They'll help me on my journey. And then week 4 is, now that I have everything put together and I'm moving through life, just don't screw it up. Leadership. Or if we're building a boat, if the idea is, okay, life is this adventure, but we have to build a boat to get there. And we got to think of all of the things of how big does the boat need to be, and what are the adventures, and what does the atmosphere, the world outside look like? What do I need to do? And so then I start building the boat. And then I need to get the crew for the boat. And then once I have the boat and I have the crew, and now the adventure is afoot, I have to not screw it up, recognizing that there's going to be peaks and valleys, there's going to be highs and lows, storms and gales, and beautiful days along the way. How do I keep navigating through that with a trajectory that is heading towards the place that Jesus said to go? That's what we do. That's it. No big deal. That's what we do. And the question is, so I just had somebody send me a text, bonk, or should I say bonk? Okay. All right, a lot of things going on there. So how do I move through the most effectively? The question today is telling a compelling story. This week, how do I get people to do it? 1, join Tribe Nudge Forward. We learned that on Monday, David Logan. 2, Seth Godin's 4-step program. Find part of the status quo to change, tell a compelling story, connect the true believers, ignore the non-true believers, and then lead them. Good. Today is how do we tell a compelling story? And we've got 2 minutes to do that. Simon Sinek points out something we all intuitively know. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And he uses Apple as an example of a great company that basically has no reason to distinguish itself from anyone else. They buy the same parts, they have the same employee pool to choose from. How is it they get the most out of their products and their people? And it's because they don't talk about how they're going to do things or what they're going to do. They talk about why we're going to do it. And Steve Jobs, one of the things he was famous for is the, the something reality, where Steve Jobs had the ability to warp reality around people. He could get people to believe things that were not true. Blessed morning. Okay, very good. And so the reality distortion mode, that's what Steve Jobs can do. So people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So if you want to bond with people, you need to get them to understand why we need to change the status quo. Once they understand why we need to change the status quo and they agree with you, then you can talk about what you're going to change and how you're going to change it. But the compelling story is why what? Why we need to change the status quo. And if you get people to agree with you, you have bonded. That's it. Very simply. So that's it for today. Tomorrow is David Phillips talking about the story before the story. So that's the stirring up the emotions that you want to have people have to make it easier to bond. So it's like mixing the concoction together, putting the cocktail together, so that when people take it, now they're ready to hear the compelling story. It's the booster rocket. It's the thing that gets the thing going. And it's just a story to make people feel the way they need to feel in order to properly bond. This is what churches do, especially the churches on the west side of Las Vegas, where we do a lot of singing and we feel the Holy Spirit and everybody agrees it's the Holy Spirit. And we do that and we are bonding, right? So when the preacher gives us the word, we are predisposed to believe it. And with that, I'm going to say, and cut. Boom.